DC is back at it again, and this time we have Blue Beetle. After the failed attempt of releasing The Flash and not making any money, how is Blue Beetle faring? Well, it's not doing so good at the box office, but does that mean the movie is no good? Well, stick around and find out my thoughts. An alien scarab chooses college graduate Jaime Reyes to be its symbiotic host, bestowing the teenager with a suit of armor that's capable of extraordinary and unpredictable powers, forever changing his destiny as he becomes the superhero known as Blue Beetle. The film stars Xolo Maridueña, Bruna Marquezine, Damián Alcázar, George Lopez, Adriana Barraza, and Suzanne Sarandon, and was directed by Manuel Soto, and he's done films like Charm City Kings and a few other films that I've never heard of before. Personally, Blue Beetle, going into this film, I did see the first trailer and kind of was like, I don't know if I'm really going to like this. Saw the second trailer and I was like, alright, I'm game, I'll go ahead and check it out. Didn't know nothing about Blue Beetle, never read the comics or anything like that, and honestly I don't read comics in general, so I really don't know most of the background of a lot of these superheroes, so I just go into these films just hoping it's a pretty decent film. And the film, it starts out with talking about Court Industries. They find this artifact known as the scarab, and then we're introduced to Jaime Reyes. He is coming home from law school and he's graduated, and he finds out that his family is having some financial difficulties. Him and his sister actually take up a job at Court Industries, the CEO, her house and her mansion. They are taking care of that mansion and cleaning and all that kind of stuff. And when Jaime actually gets into a confrontation with Victoria and butts into a conversation, she ends up firing them. And then the niece of Victoria ends up saying, well, I can offer you a job, meet me later. And then he ends up meeting her back at the Court Industries headquarters. And in doing so, she gives him this box because she's stealing this box that has this secret weapon that they are working on and going to be using. And so he takes it home. And of course, when he gets home, he has to take a look at it and actually see what it's all about, and he ends up becoming Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle is the type of film that you can sit there and go down the film card, report card, and be like, okay, it checks off this box, and that box. And I think because it does that, it's a film that I really did enjoy. For instance, I really love the fact that they really get the tone right in this film. It has a mix of comedy in here. I think George Lopez really leads that comedy. And I also think the Nana and all the other characters, they really do contribute to that comedy. There's also a serious tone within the family, and there's a big, huge family dynamic throughout this film, doing stuff together and really getting that Spanish culture really down to a T, which I think they really do a good job of actually representing the Spanish culture in here. You have two villains here. You have Suzanne Sarandon. She is the CEO of Court Industries, and she doesn't have any crazy kind of backstory or anything really crazy she's trying to do. She just has this weapon that she wants to really take over the world. And then you have Carapax, who is actually representing that company, and there is something that he actually has as towards a backstory, which I won't spoil, which is very simple, but everything really made sense as to what he was doing. One thing that I always complain about in superhero films is the pacing of the films, and I think that this film, the pacing here is just right. I think they do a really good job of actually building the story, having action, having serious moments, and having comedy moments throughout the film. Jaime Reyes, I really love when they actually show him getting into the suit and trying to actually learn these powers. And I love the suit design and the way that they have him flying and different actual formats of how he actually is trying to learn this suit and actually get comfortable with it. And it's also really funny too, if you've seen in the trailer, when the family actually freaks out when this host actually latches onto his body, and when he actually flies out of the house and there's this big old hole in the ceiling of their actual house. I thought that was really funny, and it really actually built built the momentum in the story. The visuals of the film are done pretty well, and I think also they do a really good job with the fight scenes. I like that they have a lot more fight scenes in this film. I feel like sometimes you get in these superhero films and you have all this dialogue and all this stuff that is building up, and then you get like a 10-minute fight scene and you're just like, really? I waited just for 10 minutes to have one fight scene? And I think in here they do a really good job of balancing out the different fight scenes. Carapax, I believe when he actually comes on screen, it's about 40 or 50 minutes into the film, and they actually insert him right away and have a really cool fight scene in the street with Blue Beetle. And later on there are other fight scenes where they use different kinds of colors, which I really did appreciate about the film. As far as negatives for this film, I didn't really have a lot, but there were just little nitpicks here and there. Some of the CGI is a little bit suspect at times. However, the CGI is a lot more improved than The Flash. I also thought some of the music in here was kind of strange, especially the synth kind of music that they actually throw in here. That threw me off a little bit in the film. I think at certain points you can say that these villains, they can be kind of generic and not really the best villains, and I think Hollywood right now is having some trouble actually writing villains, and I would say I would agree to a certain degree with them being kind of generic. And this film, yeah, you could say it's kind of generic, but I was okay with the fact that this is a story that was paced well, and I felt like I had a lot of fun with this character and actually getting to learn his family, with having the comedy moments, having the serious moments, and actually learning about the character as a whole and just having fun with the movie, not having to worry about some multiverse or connecting to 50,000 different movies. I love that it was a standalone story, and I think for some people they really want something to really build up to and actually build to some other stories, but I'm okay with this being a standalone film and actually building up the character, because I know nothing about the character, and actually learning about the character as we go along in this story. I had a fun time and a fun journey actually having this in the theater and actually having some laughs, having some serious moments that I didn't think were actually going to happen in the film, but they did a really good job of balancing all that out, which I think is very important in a film, to actually have some emotions from your audience. And I think in this film there are some emotional moments, especially towards the family and just the struggles that they have. They have this gentrification kind of world where you have the rich people on the outside of that world, and then you have the poor people, and they are the poor people here, where they really are struggling, and you have all these rich people getting all this cool technology and such. And so I like that actual correlation here in the film. A few other nitpicks in the negative category is I did feel like there were some shaky cam moments, which are not that really prevalent in the film, and also some shots where they're just a little bit too close, and I think they could actually pan the camera back a little bit. And I also thought the love story between Jamie and Jenny, it was a little bit forced, although I kind of saw it coming anyway, but I do think it's a little bit forced into the film. However, I do like the backstory with Jenny and her father Ted, and how he really ties into Cord Industries and his backstory behind the company, and what he actually did outside the company was really cool as well. As far as a score for this film, I would give it a 4 out of 5. I had a fun time in the theater and just a blast really getting to know Blue Beetle and the backstory of Blue Beetle, and just a story, even though it can feel kind of generic, it was a fun time, and that's really all I really need in a theater to really get me through a film. I think it really checks off all the boxes that you need in a superhero film. No, it doesn't connect to 1,000 other superhero films, but it's fine in its own right, and I definitely recommend you guys check it out, even though it's not doing that well at the box office. However, I would like to know in the comments, what did you guys think about Blue Beetle? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on my next review.